After being controversially dropped by Racing Point in 2020, Sergio Perez found himself without a seat in Formula One. But after a spectacular win in Sakir under the lights, he was given the second seat at Red Bull Racing. But Max Verstappen is no easy teammate to beat. I'm joined today with my guest, Dan, and we're going to discuss how Sergio Perez can beat Max Verstappen and become the world champion. Hi Dan, how are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to be starting this series, and I'm so glad
Yeah,
to have you as a guest.
glad to be here.
Yeah. So if you could just introduce yourself to the viewers and maybe tell them a bit about yourself, that would be really great.
Cool. All right. I'm Dan. I'm 19 from America. I first started watching F1 back in 2020 when actually you introduced me to it.
I did.
And my favorite driver is Carlos Sainz. I swear I'm not fake.
Nice.
Where do you want to start?
I guess first of all, we should talk about how Checo's done so far at Red Bull.
Sure. Yeah.
So the way I look at it, his first season with Red Bull wasn't really anything to write home about. I think he did some fairly disappointing performances in qualifying and the race.
Sure.
He had his good moments, but overall, I think a bit disappointing. But this previous year that's just gone, his second year, I think was a lot stronger. And I'm hoping that we can see this trend continue to evolve and that he'll continue to grow with the team.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
would you say you found Checo's first season?
Well, I know when he joined Red Bull, it was like a bit controversial, no, kind of controversial because
It was a hot
despite
topic.
despite Albon's relatively poor performance, he was really pushed into it really fast,
Yeah.
and they didn't get a chance to develop him much. So I know there wasn't, there was some debate around that, but he ultimately did a good job. I'd say he was a good second driver
Yeah.
for 2021, and I think
Absolutely.
if
And
with
I mean,
some
we
other
saw
second.
that. We saw that especially in Abu Dhabi. Oh gosh, I've said the dreaded Abu Dhabi word.
Yeah,
No, I mean we saw him. Was it defend like a lion or was that someone else?
something like that.
Checo
Yeah,
is a legend kind of moment.
he's a huge part of Max Verstappen winning that championship.
Yeah,
And not that any of the previous Red Bull second drivers wouldn't have been. Obviously,
yeah,
it's a different car.
yeah.
Like he
And it's
had
like
a fast enough car.
when it came to that moment, he was able to deliver what was required of him.
He was able to do what he needed to do. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess let's briefly touch on Max as well.
Sure.
Obviously, he's got two championships now, so he's definitely starting to establish himself. Do you think he and Red Bull could come out on top again in this coming season, 2023?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, they have a fast car. They're really well put together. If
Yeah,
they have even a nearly fast enough car, they'll be getting wins.
definitely, yeah.
Like whether they have the fastest car or not. I personally, I'm not a huge fan of I mean, I guess not the domination, but kind of the domination
Yeah,
that
I mean, I think
Red
every
Bull as
fan,
a team has been very dramatic
yeah,
over my time watching Formula One,
yeah,
and they're at least Max is someone I kind of root against. Although I'm sure he's a good guy, but
yeah. But you've seen a
just
lot of Max winning in your
yeah,
time because
and
you started at the end of 2020.
mhm,
And yeah,
yeah,
I think
and
it's pretty much been Max winning pretty much since he
pretty much,
started.
yeah,
Other than obviously some Lewis wins in 2021 as well.
hmm,
But that was quite an exciting one. But yeah,
yeah,
definitely, I know a lot of people will be feeling the same, especially newer fans like
hmm.
you. So it would be nice to see someone else at least fight for it
And
because I feel like there
maybe it
wasn't.
is just rooting against kind of the overdog. Like if there's anyone ever dominating a season,
Yeah,
I'll be like, huh, I want
no,
someone else to.
exactly.
It's kind of
Yeah,
like the underdog aspect. But yeah,
yeah,
and that's why we can be talking about Checo because he is a major underdog compared to
yes,
Max.
absolutely.
Um,
So yeah, you mentioned Checo again. Obviously,
mhm,
Checo has not outperformed Max in any way in these last two seasons.
mhm.
How do you think he can?
So the way I see it now, I don't know much about Formula One. I started in 2020, but I've looked at past seasons, I've heard some past stories, and I want to talk about Mr. Nico Rosberg.
Ah,
So,
good old
um,
Nico.
for anyone who doesn't know, Rosberg, he's like an OG Mercedes driver that he's beating Michael Schumacher in the same car for season after season when Mercedes isn't quite competitive enough for a championship.
Yeah.
And then Lewis comes in, and all of a sudden, Lewis comes in 2013. They don't win yet, but then 2014, Lewis wins, and then Lewis wins again, the championship. And I know it gets like super heated between them,
Yeah.
but from what I've been told and heard and stuff like that, Rosberg just kind of bunkered down going into 2016. He didn't really interact with anyone, including like his family.
Yeah, I've heard the stories of that, like sleeping in a different room to his wife. Like
he cut out everything that wasn't Formula One in the name of this championship.
I heard as well he was like shaving the paint off his helmet, and he had like a carbon fiber helmet with no paint on it, just to lose like those extra grams. Yeah, so he was determined. Yeah,
he was just really determined, and I think Checo's going to be pushed to that point soon.
Okay.
Because he's contracted for 2024. He's in Red Bull at least through 2024.
Yeah, so 2 more years.
With what we've seen team orders wise going on recently, obviously he's a second driver, but towards the end of the 2022, there was obviously that Brazil race where Max didn't give him back the position when he was fighting. When Max had the championship, they had the Constructors Championship, and Checo was just trying to get second place.
Yeah,
which he didn't end up doing. He wouldn't have done it with how Abu Dhabi went. He wouldn't have gotten second place even if Max didn't give him that position. But
imagine.
Imagine if it did make a difference. So that they don't have a perfect relationship, and that's kind of how it happened with Lewis and Rosberg too. Like,
there's that infamous clip
they were
of
friends.
Lewis. Yeah,
they were good friends in like 2014, and then as
drama
was winning, and there were various incidents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That deteriorated, and I think we saw a little bit of that deterioration. And
absolutely, yeah, it's like the first cracks. I was just about to say there's that infamous clip of, I think it's at COTA 2015. It's Lewis and Nico in the cool down room, and Lewis picks up the cap and like throws it at Nico, and Nico throws it right back. And I think after that, Nico didn't lose a race that year after that, or something. Like, a lot of people see that as kind of the start of the rebellion.
And that's what I feel like this is going to be, because Max, he's a very good, successful driver.
Yeah.
And
he's got a lot of potential as well. Like, he's already been
this is going to be a period of Red Bull domination. It's going to be a period of Max domination.
Yeah.
And
this is Checo's basically last chance to capitalize on this domination and being potentially a world champion, because I think when he leaves Red Bull, he'll probably leave F1. Probably.
Not that he couldn't stay if he didn't want to, but like,
I don't think he'd want to after that.
This is kind of the point for him to end his career if he's ready.
Yeah.
He's at the highest point. What's that being said? Vettel left Ferrari.
Yeah.
And stayed in for a few years. Checo could do the same thing. I don't think he'll be kicked out of Red Bull at any point.
It depends who comes through. Off. Yeah. Because, I mean, Checo's got kids as well, so, like, he might want to spend some time with them.
Yeah. But as for coming through, Red Bull have shown they're willing to let people kind of just sit at Alpha Tower if they're doing well enough.
Yeah.
So I don't think, like, as long as Checo's willing to be there and he's doing at least as good as he did, even 2021, I think they won't mind keeping him.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe even not this season, but, like, his time at Red Bull. This is his time to fight for that championship, despite team orders, despite anything. And if he shows he can do, and I feel like if he wants that championship, which of course everyone does, he's gonna really have to make a lot on himself. He's gonna really, I don't know if he'll do the same level as Rosberg did, but he's gonna bunker down. He's gonna do everything he can to be as good of a driver to beat Verstappen.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and if he does win that championship, and if he does do that, I think he will also pull Rosberg and retire.
Ooh, okay.
I think.
No, I can definitely see that happening, because, like, Rosberg retiring was really shocking, like, at the time, but it actually does make a lot of sense, because then you can, like, walk away from the sport having achieved the end goal, and never. It's like quit while you're ahead kind of thing.
And as much as he could like just go for a second one, if he did that, he would need to keep that up to still beat Verstappen.
Yeah, and it's
Verstappen
a lot
is
of
at
work.
such a high level.
Verstappen is just insane. Like he's on another level. Yeah, like yeah.
As for his chances in general, like obviously he needs to really, really get ready. But when it comes to like, if we look at 2022, there were some times he was on pole or he was just ahead of Verstappen in general. Like he's
got the potential. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely options for him and opportunities for him to take, especially with this season. I think this will be quite a decisive one in terms of can Checo be champion. Checo champion, nice alliteration there. So yeah, I completely agree with everything you've said here. I think there's definitely a chance of him. I don't actually think it's very likely that he'll be a champion, unfortunately.
No, I doubt it.
I think the team is just so built around Max that it's going to be very difficult for him to really... Because at least with the Lewis Rosberg situation, it was like Rosberg was already more established in Mercedes and the team was a bit more built around Nico Rosberg. But obviously with Checo, he's come in as a clear second driver. Obviously, Max is their champion, he's their star. So yeah, I think he's going to have to really work for it. There's definitely chance, but it's going to be tricky for him.
Yeah, so. Kind of similar to that. He needs to be ahead of Max. Like, they're not going to give him anything. They're not going to give him any, and there will not be any team orders benefiting Checo, especially if it's a champion fight.
Yeah. So he's going to have to come in hard, at the start as well, so that it's very clear that he's in this fight, if that makes sense. Kind of like how we'd see Bottas the last few years. I don't know how familiar you are with this, but Bottas won the first race of the year for 2 years in a row, and everyone was kind of thinking, oh, is this going to be the year Valtteri?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but then he never really did go too far with challenging Lewis there, but yeah, so cool. Thank you very much for coming as a guest.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a really great chat, and I look forward to having you back again sometime soon. To the viewers who are watching, if you guys would like to share your thoughts, please do drop them in the comments. I love to chat with you all, and I would love to hear some different perspectives. So get to the comment section. Yeah, so I guess that's it from us. So be sure to like and subscribe, drop a follow and all that. Bye.